talk show host Stephanie Miller, who joins me now. Stephanie, it's great to see you. This is a long time coming. I'm so glad that we're able to chat about this. And when I saw this moment that you had with Sean Hannity the other night, I fell out of my chair laughing. And I don't know if I've stopped laughing because you busted him. So good. How are you, by the way? Great to see
you know what? I'm having a little champagne because, it's Friday. And, it's not every week that you kick Sean Hannity's ass, Jim. And
thank goodness.
And that Fox News is dumb enough to let you come on in the middle of the Epstein bombshell emails, right?
And they had not been, just to go back to what I'm, kudos on having champagne at 1:30 in the afternoon in LA. Oh. This is why I should probably move to LA or at least get a place out there. But
I wish we were doing shots together. It's, you know what? I do morning radio. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Absolutely. And it's almost 5 o'clock here. But no, the thing that, and we should preface this by saying, Fox was just ignoring these bombshells that had come out, what was it, Wednesday morning? And then I don't know why. So the Hannity people call you and they say, hey, Stephanie, we'd love to have you come on the show tonight and talk about Joe Biden being senile or something. Is that what was happening?
No, Jim, it was more ridiculous than that. So I've been frenemies with Sean Hannity for 30 years from radio.
Okay.
And so, his radio producer called me first. I went on his radio show. Jim, you know this game. Yeah. I did a ridiculous joke photo. I just did a Prop 50 event out here with Jasmine Crockett canvassing for Prop 50. So I did a funny joke photo of me kissing her feet because I love her.
Yeah, oh my she's God. Awesome. Yeah.
I don't know if I can swear on this show, Jim, but
you can, please.
MAGA lost their shit. I don't know if you saw. Twitter exploded. White liberal lady, black lady feet.
Oh no.
New York Post, Daily Caller. And so that's how this all happened, is I was supposed to be the liberal punching bag, Jim. Like, oh, look at this stupid liberal lady. And so, so after I did the radio show, someone's like, come on the TV show. I'm like, okay. And then that was supposed to be the subject, is what were you thinking? Oh my God. And
how could you do that? Yeah.
And as you probably saw, I said, what's interesting about this whole story is that Trump is all over the Epstein files. And
I love it.
And that's
well,
the
let's
first
do
mention
this.
Of Epstein that day.
It's incredible to me. All right, let's play the footage because for folks who have not seen this, or if you just want to relive the moment, it's glorious. Let's watch.
So, I do have a question. I tried to get an answer out of you on radio. Okay. The question is, when did you notice Joe Biden's cognitive decline? And don't change the subject and deflect. When did you really notice it?
Well, I think it was through all of the times that Donald Trump has fallen asleep in public and talked about, magnets getting wet in the last few,
oh my gosh.
My mom had dementia, so I recognize it. And
this is not, it's a very good deflection. You're a professional.
You know what else is great about Biden's decline is that Trump is all over the Epstein files. And I'm wondering if they're going to release those. Are you covering that tonight?
Not really, because the woman that apparently they're talking about is the one that said he was a gentleman and never did anything wrong. And the person that had a grudge was the guy that got thrown out of Mar-a-Lago 25 years ago. And
you got him.
When you get thrown out of a club in Palm Beach, Florida, that's kind of a big deal. And it's very humiliating and embarrassing. And he was a convicted pedophile.
Oh, gosh.
So I'm not exactly...
He got really riled up there.
Trump was mad that he was stealing his girls, but yeah.
Well, kudos to you.
Thank you, honey. Did you like the Scooby-Doo at the end? What now?
Yeah.
No one ever said that Trump raped all 1,000 girls, Jim. Yeah. Just FYI. And I mean, we all know that he had, the emails reveal, he had Thanksgiving with Epstein in 2017. So
yeah, what's that all about?
He didn't throw him out of Mar-a-Lago. And, obviously, like, it was over a business dispute or something else. And I'm like, I'm sorry, because he stole your girls that you were sex trafficking. And
and he's like, and he's repeatedly lied about it. We were just showing this a few moments ago with Vicky Ward. We were showing how Caroline Leavitt said that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for being a pedophile. And then Trump was asked in 2019, did you know what Epstein was up to? No, I didn't know anything. I didn't, it wasn't me. It was the one-armed man, And it's, I just... Anyway, but the thing that is so glorious about what you did there is it exposed what goes on at Fox. And I've reported on this for many years and talked about this for many years. They act in cahoots with the Trump people and the Trump administration, and they obviously made it very clear to Fox that they didn't want to see any coverage. And so there was no coverage until you brought it up, basically.
Jim, I got to tell you, so I'm sitting in the chair, as you do in TV. So I'm sitting in the chair. And first of all, the guy at Fox News, in New York is like, I love your show. I'm like, don't say that. You're going to get fired. But before me, Jim, as I'm sitting in the chair, this is like, they don't need to send me to El Salvador. This would be liberal torture. I'm sitting in the chair. First is Mike Johnson. Then it's Stephen Miller. And then Kash Patel, and then me. So I'm forced to sit here and listen to this solid wall of lies. And
wow.
So,
and were any of those guys asked about Epstein?
No, of course not.
And he had Kash Patel on.
Yeah, they thought they were having me on for a gotcha. Like, oh my God, you kissed the black lady's feet. It ended up being like a commercial for Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. They played Charlemagne the God, saying she's, should be the voice of the Democratic Party. That's why people are resonating, to her. Anyway, Jim, it was hilarious because I and my mom did have dementia, and Trump obviously has a lot going on that they, of course, they don't cover on Fox News.
Well, and the other thing too is, maybe we should talk about this, is Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly is blowing up, and not in a good way right now. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
She was on her show she was making this argument that maybe it wasn't pedophilia because we're talking about 15-year-olds and not 8-year-olds. And now she is like, what the hell? People are just saying, what is wrong with you? Or is your brain broke? But to me, it's like, this is what happens when you're in a cult. When you're in a cult, you explain away the actions of the dear leader.
Right. And it's like they're getting us ready for what we're going to find out, that we all know we're going to find out, that, it's not so bad. It's not really rape. Jim, it reminds me of that whole debate about what's a legitimate rape, and women have a way of shutting it down if it's a legit.
Right.
And this is a woman who has a 15-year-old daughter is saying it's not really rape. If it's different than 5, really? Would you be okay if your 15-year-old daughter, it's extraordinary.
I would want to kill the person. I'll just say right now, that's what I would want to do. That I would, to me, most normal people would, that's their reaction. If you have kids, this is a 15-year-old is a kid. I don't know how she could come to that conclusion. We were playing the video yesterday. I don't know if we could play it again, but the way she just kind of goes through these verbal gymnastics, these mental gymnastics, it says to me that Megyn has sold her soul. She's not like, it's there. The soul has left the body.
Jim, it's why I've always been such a huge fan of yours, and why, most people doing the most important work now are on Substack, because, the mainstream media is, has bent the knee, kissed the ring. And I'm telling you, Jim, someday we're going to look at how the mainstream media got a child rapist into the Oval Office. Do I need to say allegedly?
We'll say alleged. And he has said repeatedly he didn't do anything wrong, but he also said that he didn't know what Epstein was up to, and that clearly is not the case. And so, there's a lot of lies, telling lies to cover up other lies. But I think you're right about the mainstream media, and I call it the corporate media, the legacy media.
Yeah.
And to me, when they have all of these merger and acquisition deals, you've been in the entertainment and talk industry for a long time, and you're a legend out there in California and all across the country, and people love you. But this all too well. When there's a company, we can talk about Megyn in a second, but when there's a company involved in charge of these companies, in charge of these news outlets, it bends the way the coverage is. It just is.
Yeah. I feel like it. I don't mean to be rude, but it was a little sexually exciting to me how you used to come after Donald Trump, because you were just doing. And I'm gay, but oh my God,
I'm happy to help in any way possible.
Thank you, Jim. And
I'm a giver.
You were doing what journalists were supposed to do. It's just,
you got to hold their feet to the fire. That's what the public expects, and that's why these companies are all in the shitter right now, because the public is like, screw it, I'm going to go on Substack or YouTube and find other places and go They just don't want to listen to the news media and not do their jobs. But we got the Megan thing queued up. Let's watch this and talk about it, and then I'll let you go on your way. I've taken up so much of your time, but let's watch this real fast.
I know virtually everything, not everything, but virtually everything. And this person has told me from the start, years and years ago, that Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts. That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds, but he liked the very young teen types that could pass for.
I think that's enough. That's enough.
Is that, I mean, seriously, Jim, is that their, like, for the midterms? At least she wasn't 8. Make America great again.
I know. It's
Really?
grotesque. It's grotesque. And it says to me that something's seriously wrong with Megan. She's gone to the dark side and she's sold her soul to Donald Trump, and she doesn't know what to do with herself. You know, remember when he went after her and she was kind of held up as like, here she is over at Fox. She's actually making Trump sweat and stuff. And then she went to the dark side and did rallies for him and so on. And now she sounds worse than Caroline Leavitt. It's
and Jim, people were like, "Oh, you were so brave." I'm like, "No, I'm like you, Jim. I have 0 fucks left to give. I'm like, I don't want to be on Fox News again. My goal is always to get thrown off and never get invited back."
good.
Because
the Academy Award goes to you.
They always want you to play the game, like, you know, be the liberal punching bag, be the, you know. I'm like, no, F you.
It's pro wrestling. They want it to be kayfabe. They want it to be, you know, I'll do this and then you'll do that. And I'm so glad that you did not play that game with them, and you exposed them in a very important moment when everybody was watching and wondering, is Fox going to cover this? And you just totally punctured that. So thank you, Steph. It's great to talk to you. Thank you so much for what you do. Yeah.
I need a commitment right now. You're coming on my show. I've been trying to
I
get
will
you
definitely
forever.
come on your show. No, we were talking a while back. I think it was right after I left, and that was when my head was like spinning like a top. So
I know.
I'm much calmer now, and I have people who help me with this show, and I'm much more in command of my faculties on a daily basis. So we'll make it happen. I promise.
All right. Let's do it.
All
Love
right.
you, Jim.
All right. Love you. Thanks, Stephanie. Really appreciate it. All right. I'm glad I'm helping out in all kinds of ways too, by the way. Thanks, Stephanie. Take care. She's terrific. And it's one of those things. It's like you rarely see it when somebody breaks character in state television. And, you know, it's one of those, is like, remember the lady on Russian state television when she held up the sign? It just is one of those moments that we can all look back to and say, thank you, Stephanie, for, you know, pointing out what a fraud Sean Hannity is, because that's what he is. He's a fraud. Want to switch gears again one more time, because I mean, it's not very often I get to have an Academy Award nominated actress on this show, but I was able to have an interview with the one and only, the great Lily Gladstone, who has been doing just amazing work in highlighting the plight of Native people in this country, Native American, Indigenous people in this country. And she has a new documentary that's out. It's out on PBS, and there are going to be screenings coming to a city near you that talks about the return of the buffalo to the United States. And it's a mission that is very important to the Blackfeet. And Lily is a member of that. And here's our interview. We'll talk about it on the other side. But she's an amazing person. And we had a terrific conversation. Here it is. And joining us now is Lily Gladstone. She is an Academy Award nominated actress. She's an executive producer and the narrator for a new feature documentary that is extremely important right now. It's called Bring Them Home. It is from Thunderheart Films, WETA TV, and PBS. Bring Them Home is about the Blackfeet Nation's decades-long effort to return wild buffalo to their ancestral lands. The project is so important to the identity of the Blackfeet Nation. And here to talk about it is Lily Gladstone. Wow, what an honor. Thank you so much, Lily. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And it's Native American Heritage Month right now. And so this comes at a perfect time. I just have to ask you, first of all, And I want to show a clip from the documentary and so on. But, you know, why did you decide to do this? Why is this project so important to you?
You know, from being a kid, just day one, I grew up on the Blackfeet Reservation where a lot of the film takes place. A lot of the same landscape was what I saw on my commute to school every morning. You can see my cousin Will out there riding a horse, helping drive the buffalo. Growing up, just something that I heard a lot, partly came from my own family. My great-great-great-grandfather, Chief Meekgaistu, Red Crow, he was a signatory of Treaty 7 in Canada, but he was around for that time of transition from buffalo to cattle. And he witnessed and talked about how, you know, we're buffalo people, but you look at cattle and how they behave, they're kept behind fences, they need to be fed on a schedule, they're dependent. And he said, that's who we're going to become. Kind of a you are what you eat sort of a thing in crass terms, I guess. But the return of the buffalo then has been in conversation since early childhood for me. The first time I remember seeing the first attempt at a tribal herd, I was pretty young. This was before my family moved away from the reservation. So mid-90s, I remember driving between East Glacier and Browning to go get groceries and just waiting and hoping to see them out there. There was one time they were across the road and they totally shut traffic down. So there was a big formative point or period of my life where I would just imagine and pray for it and think about buffalo being back on our plains and imagine that resurgence. So when this documentary was coming together, it's been 7 years, 8 years in the making.
Wow, no kidding.
The brilliant documentarian who came out of Bozeman, came out of Brooklyn, they came out of Bozeman, Daniel Glick. He was doing his footwork and working his way around the res and kept asking for collaborators, and everybody kept bringing my name up. So long before Killers of the Flower Moon made me kind of a global name, I was definitely known around the res and around Montana as a Blackfeet filmmaker. So I've been attached to at least narrate for a really, really long time. And it was really kind of heartwarming and wonderful that in the background of everything that was going on with me, the buffalo continued to come back and continued to get stronger. And one thing it's a traditional game that we're taught when we're young that you play at gatherings called Make the Buffalo Run. It's before we had the horse, there was buffalo runs. So you would have runners, young kids that would at the top of their lungs yell and scream and run for a length to draw the buffalo over a cliff. Pretty dangerous job and requires strong runners with loud voices. So kind of took the analogy of that, you know, I guess that's what I'm doing. I'm out here running fast. I'm making noise. I'm leading. Maybe a bit reluctantly, but it's all in service of making the buffalo run and bringing them home. So it was always really wonderful fuel knowing that this story was coming together. And
it's an incredible story. And let's watch a little bit from the documentary. I think we have a clip or a trailer, and I was looking at some of this last night. It's just extraordinary. Let's watch.
This has been our home for millennia. For almost that entire time, we've lived with and alongside the buffalo. But more than a century ago, we and the buffalo became the targets of genocide. Without buffalo, our world collapsed. But there were some of us who refused to give up, who held tight to the hope that with the return of Ini would come the healing from this trauma.
Growing up, there weren't any buffalo here on the reserve.
Never heard anybody ever talk of buffalo. So slowly, just start learning.
They're still a wild animal. When you get them into crowds and stuff, you could, you'll find that out pretty damn easy.
We begin to see who else should we bring in to help us evolve this idea of wild bison.
Seeing them buffalo coming into territory up here would be a great victory, more than anything that we've settled in the last 1,000 years, because they're going to teach us our ways again.
And it was almost like they were saying, we're coming home.
and prepare for us to come home.
Wow. It looks amazing. It looks beautiful. The cinematography here is, I mean, it's amazing to look at. Lily, you must be so proud of this, but I mean, I guess help us with the viewers and educating them on what happened to the buffalo, because I mean, a lot of people may not remember this or realize, I mean, they were just about wiped out, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, and
yeah,
so
it was a large campaign, late part of the 1800s, early 1900s.
Right.
It was a very concerted effort. It was essentially a genocidal campaign. That famous photo of the mountains and mountain of bison skulls. As I was talking about my great-great-grandpa Red Crow, how we're buffalo people, we're not the only ones who acknowledged and noticed that. So when westward expansion was happening, when there was a price on Indian scalps, there was also a price on buffalo, knowing that eradicating buffalo would mean that we would become dependent or we would just go away entirely. So this campaign was enormously successful, and it's kind of a miracle that we have the American bison anymore. And it's, you know, I want to call it a miracle, but I also want to call it kind of metaphysical will, I suppose. Will of Eni, will of the buffalo, that one of our genetic herds from this time was, it found kind of a sanctuary on the Flathead Reservation for a while. And then those buffalo moved up to Canada, and still Blackfoot ancestral area territory. But this specific herd sat and waited for over a century, for 100 years. And then in 2016, I remember going out and visiting the yearling. We got about 40 to 60 head of yearling that were brought down and corralled. And those are the ones that you see in the film that continue to grow. And knowing that they look a little bit different too. They sound like little pigs. They're really cute when they're young.
But don't get too close, as we saw that one gentleman in the ring there. I thought, oh gosh, somebody's going to get hurt. But I have to ask you, because everybody knows you from Killers of the Flower Moon, which I love that book. I read that book like in a couple of days. It was incredible. And then the movie was just amazing, and you were incredible in it. And what is it about the stories about Native Americans, about our indigenous people? Why are these stories resonating with us now, do you think?
Something that a lot of indigenous folks have been saying for a while. We've survived genocide. We've survived concerted efforts to limit our liberties, to limit our speech, to limit our way of life, and we're still here. So there's been an enormous amount of tumult as of late, and it's affecting communities that haven't really ever felt it before. So I feel like, you know, we have survived and we are still here in the face of all of these very concerted efforts, these large policies, these government policies to kill the Indian, save the man, to basically eradicate our way of life, and in the hopes that we just kind of disappear. And clearly we haven't. And that very much comes from going back to who buffalo people are. When you're facing adversity as a kid back home, one thing you hear a lot is that you just turn into the storm and face it head on, because that's what buffalo do. You know, a cow will need a rancher to take them to a pasture, will need them to take them to a barn, basically, so they can survive a cold winter. Buffalo calve in sub-zero, so their babies, their newborn babies, can survive 50 below. And the way that they get through the storm is they keep moving. They face it head on, and they break the strongest buffalo break the embankments and break the storm and the snow that's piling up. Everything they do is protective of their young, protective of their vulnerable, and they just keep moving. So we've learned how to do that from them. That's one thing I'm really grateful about this documentary, particularly that Daniel had the absolutely necessary and vital foresight to work with Blackfeet filmmakers. A lot of times you see documentaries that have a biological element, because in a lot of the documentary we're talking about restoring bison as a megafauna for, you know, some necessary ecosystem revitalization. And a lot of times when you're talking in Western biological terms, there's this strong resistance to anthropomorphize. So you're not supposed to anthropomorphize the animals. Well, it's true. You always got to be mindful of how much you're projecting yourself into what you're seeing. It's kind of the opposite with us. Buffalo have taught us who we are. Human beings are kind of pitiful creatures. If we're born in the middle of a sub-zero storm, we're not going to make it. So we have to learn how to be. And one of our biggest teachers are the bison. So it's, I think the lesson that people can look to from Native peoples who have survived all of these, centuries now of hardships, of erasure, essentially. We've learned how to survive from our land, from the non-human peoples that we share our land with.
Yeah, a couple of things you said there really resonated with me. One is about being part of a culture that is facing the threat of eradication and erasure. I think that message resonates with a lot of people right now. And I think also what you're talking about, the connection between ourselves and the natural world, which I think so many people have lost sight of.
Absolutely.
Our climate, our environment.
Exactly. It's a global crisis, and it's a global crisis of shared resource, but also of a sense of self, of identity. There's this idea of man conquering nature, and that's absolutely not it. It hasn't been that long in our timeline as Blackfeet people that we haven't been hand in hand with buffalo, and seeing that come back and seeing the revitalization of purpose, sense of who we are coming with it. That's always been big part of the goal, I guess. And I hope that's what an audience that is not Indigenous takes from it, is we have one world and we are part of a very big picture. We're kind of brought up in Western society to believe we're at the top of the hierarchy, but we're really part of an ecosystem. And restoration of that and acknowledgement of that, humbling ourselves that we're animals too, and we're a pretty pitiful species when you look at it. We have a lot to learn from being what we're meant to be, which is stewards of a world that is way bigger, way more connected, and way more powerful than we are.
Such an important message right now. Lily Gladstone, to me, you are such a role model, and it's so amazing and important that you have emerged as this incredible star right now, and you're using that platform to tell the story of your people. There's some of the dates. If you want to see this documentary in person, it's coming to a town near you, and I think it's so wonderful that PBS is part of this too. Yay, public broadcasting. We love public broadcasting.
Yes.
But Lily, I'm a huge fan. I know you're so busy doing these interviews, so I won't hold you up too long, but kudos to you. Honestly, way to go. Amazing stuff.
Thank you so much for giving us the time to talk about this too. Just means so much.
You bet. The great Lily Gladstone, who we'll be seeing for years to come. I promise you, everybody, we're going to be seeing Lily doing amazing projects for years to come. Thank you so much, Lily. Really great to talk to you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It really was great getting to know her there, and make sure you check out her film. It is going to be coming out on PBS in the next couple of weeks, and really appreciate her time. Thanks for that. Want to touch finally, very quickly, on the Epstein story. I've just obtained this letter from some of the survivors, the victims' families. They have written this letter and they've sent it to every member of Congress up on Capitol Hill. They are calling again for the release of the Epstein files. Of course, they're sending this letter in this very critical moment in the story in Epstein Gate. You saw all the emails that were released by the House Oversight Committee, led by the Democrats on that committee, who obviously pushed this forward first. And now, we're seeing basically a huge moment that is shaping up for next week. We saw that they had the necessary votes in the House for the discharge petition. That means that there will be a full House vote, we expect, next week on releasing the files. Then the matter goes to the Senate, and then it goes to the White House. Of course, we all expect Donald Trump to veto that if it ever gets out of the Senate. But I want to read some of this letter to you. It's on screen right there. It says, we write to you as the family of Virginia Roberts Giuffre and as fellow survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and their co-conspirators. You have the ability to vote to release the Epstein files and WETA deliver a promise the American people have awaited for far too long. We implore you to do so. Several weeks ago, when a few brave survivors stood before you and recounted their harrowing stories, many of you were shaken to your core. We urge you, when you cast your vote, please do not forget the horror you felt that day. There is no middle ground here. There is no hiding behind party affiliation. The testimonies you heard are just a fraction of the unimaginable suffering endured by more than 1,000 victims alike. Epstein and Maxwell's crimes exposed a double standard of justice where rich and powerful men and women evade repercussions. Despite years of work to bring them to justice, and most of Epstein and Maxwell's co-conspirators remain completely free, continuing to amass power and prestige, living without apparent shame. As you gather with your family this season, this is important. Remember that your primary duty is to your constituents. Look into the eyes of your children, your sisters, your mothers, and your aunts. Imagine if they had been preyed upon. Imagine if you yourself were a survivor. What would you want for them? What would you want for yourself? When you vote, we will remember you and your decision at the ballot box. This last April, we lost our sister Virginia, a true American hero and a beacon of strength to survivors everywhere. Her resilience in the face of immense adversity, the threats to her life, financial ruin, public shaming inspired us all. Her courage brought this case to a monumental turning point, and her testimony exposed the lurid secrets of global sex trafficking network. In doing so, she brought down a prince and paved the way for us to come forward and fight. Virginia was failed over and over by the systems that consistently believed and supported her abusers over her. Today, we urge you not to fail another survivor and deny them justice any longer. Embody Virginia's courage. This is what they're saying to the members of Congress here in Washington. Be brave and stand for her. In her absence, vote yes on the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Vote for justice, accountability, and the truth. With gratitude, respect, and resilience from survivors and the family and friends who love them. And on the back of the letter, you see it on screen there, all the names of not all of the survivors, but of the survivors and their family members who have added their names to this. There's one where you just see initials AW. But imagine the pain and the heartache and the suffering that these very brave people have endured for years. And now Congress is on the edge of a very big moment. Are they going to deny the truth to the American people? Are they going to turn their backs on the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell? Are they going to do that to the Republican members of the Congress? I mean, this is really directed at you. Are you going to protect and shield Donald Trump once again? You know, he's put out this cockamamie Truth Social post trying to say he's going to have the Department of Justice, and Pam Bondi has already said, I'm going to do this, investigate the Democratic figures who show up in these Epstein documents and emails and so on. That is not what the families want. That is not what the survivors want. They want the Epstein files released. It is something Donald Trump campaigned on. It is something that people like Kash Patel said he would do. It is something that Pam Bondi said she would do. And today she's saying she's going to have the Southern District of New York investigate Bill Clinton and Larry Summers and so on. The survivors, I've talked to some of the folks here. They're just saying release the files. They're not saying pick and choose. Donald Trump is the one who wants to pick and choose. And why is that? Why does this continue to be an issue for him? Why does he continue to be engaged in a cover-up? Why is the White House still engaged in a cover-up and strong-arming the Justice Department as part of that cover-up? They brought in poor Lauren Boebert and brought her in the Situation Room as part of this, as an attempted cover-up, trying to strong-arm people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Mace to vote against releasing these files. And make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, going into next week, the White House, the administration, the Justice Department, Kash Patel, they're going to be lobbying these members of Congress to please don't vote for this. And it's expected that there's going to be a jailbreak in the House, that they have enough votes in the House that this is going to get through the House. It's going to come down to the Senate, ladies and gentlemen, where they need 60 votes to call the vote, to call the final vote on this. And if you're a Republican senator who is going, is this how you want to go down? Is this how you want to be remembered? Will you be able to face the voters at home? Will you be able to face your constituents at home if you have once again helped Donald Trump conceal the Epstein files? The survivors want them released. It is time to release them. It is time to stop playing games. It is time to end the diversionary tactics. Donald Trump, what are you so afraid of? Why are you asking Pam Bondi and the Justice Department to investigate the Democrats? Just release the damn files. What are you so afraid of? Why won't you do it? What did you do? As I've said on this show, it's not what did the president know and when did he know it? It's what did he do? What did you do? What did you do? My thanks to Vicki Ward, to Stephanie Miller, and to the great Lily Gladstone. Really appreciate her time as well. Thanks to all of you for watching. I don't say this enough, and I know I've gone a little over today, but it means so much that folks out there are subscribing to this show. It helps support the work that we do. So if you're watching this on Substack, on YouTube, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or somewhere else, it helps if you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It does make a difference. It does, right there, as my executive producer Matt puts in the chyron. You know you want to. You know you want to. But it helps support the work that we do. If you're fed up with the legacy media, with the corporate media, as Stephanie Miller was saying earlier on, one way to strike back is to support independent media. And if you support this program, you are supporting independent media. My thanks to all of you for watching. Once again, still reporting from Washington, I'm Jim Acosta. Have a good evening. I'll see you next time.